get all cleaned up and put away.
Howdy there, partner.
Hello. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
Happy Friday. I'm well. And how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well as well. It's good to
All right.
End of the week, and we have a long weekend.
Yes, we do.
Labor Day.
That we do. Oh my gosh. Big announcement to the one person who's watching right now. Thanks for being the first person to the live stream. Happy Friday, everybody, today. Actually, I'll save it. I'll save it when we have a few more people. But I think you know what I'm trying to say, right? Don't say it. Don't say it. It's all right. It's all right.
I may or may not know what you're getting at, but
no worries. No worries. Well, welcome. My name is Caleb. I'm an advocate with Galt Advocacy, and this is our weekly live stream here on YouTube and Facebook. Dakota.
I'm Dakota. I'm also an advocate here at Galt Advocacy. Although both of us are kind of branching out into other things. You're very much our sort of like the face of the company, the first person everyone talks to, the consultant. And I'm moving into doing mostly hearing stuff now. So, we've come a long way from our early days of just being brand new advocates who had to be taught every single little thing about IHSS.
I remember like it was yesterday where we're crammed into the corner of Myra's office, basically sharing a desk. You, me, and Maria.
Yeah.
Good old days.
Yeah. Yeah, all of us sharing one office. That was I don't know how we managed that for so long.
On top of that,
I think we even had boards for at some point.
And on top of that, everything was paper, so we actually had files. Oh man! All right. Well, welcome everybody to today's live. Today is, as you already know, Dakota and I's favorite topic. I think it's Dakota's favorite topic. It's my favorite topic. I say it every single month when we do it. Q&A. So we don't have to come up with a topic today. We need your help. We need you guys to provide us with some great questions so that we can not just answer your questions and hopefully provide some helpful information, but maybe get some ideas for some future streams for some topics that you guys actually want to talk about and hear about. And so today is all you. You are welcome to share what's going on in your life. You're welcome to say hello, like Miss Rosita. Hello to you. Let us know if you've got somebody in your life with special needs that you want to share with us today. Your dynamic. How is school going? School's just started this last month for, I think, most people. So let us know how that's going. But if you don't know, if this is your first time here, welcome. We talk about all things special needs related. So regionals, well, in California, that is for the most part. So regional center, Medi-Cal stuff, IHSS, Protect Supervision, IEP, school, all of these things. But if you ever just want to share a thought, a concern, or just a question, that's what today's about. So please do. Okay, so we got a good little chunk of people here. Welcome, Dakota. Today is August 29th. What are you guys doing today at the office?
Oh, well, yeah. But besides, we're getting our time cards ready for the end of the month. But I believe we are celebrating a birthday party or a birthday in the office.
We are. Happy birthday. Sorry, making a banner, everybody.
I should have stretched it out.
It is Myra Galt's birthday, founder of Galt Advocacy. So for those of you who are watching, or those of you who have been around for the last many years, however many years here on Facebook, you've met Myra a few times. Galt Advocacy has been around for many years. And so if you've worked with us in the past, you have probably connected with Myra at some point. Myra is the reason we do this today here on Facebook and work at Galt Advocacy. She is Myra Galt of Galt Advocacy, and today is her birthday. And so a big shout out to Miss Myra for her birthday. I wish I could tell you how old she is, but I don't know if she wants that information out there on the web.
Yeah,
39 today. 39, everybody.
That's right.
39 again. Love it. All right. So if you can, drop a comment. Wish Miss Myra happy birthday. We would love to show her this stream when we're all done so she could see everybody's birthday wishes if you're up for it. If you don't want to do it, I understand. But you should. All right, back to today's topic. What is today's topic? Q&A.
Question answer. And I
That's
think
right.
we already I saw that we was already get a couple of comments, but before we jump into it, we should do the obligatory. If you're watching this, go ahead, give it a like, share it with somebody who might have questions or might want to hear these answers. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. And the whole 9 yards. So we're gonna try. You know, like you said, this is my favorite topic, and like even when we're doing other topics, I would rather like pause whatever we're talking about to tackle what someone has, what someone wants to know about in the moment. So yes, I do love Q&A, and that's why I always want more and more people to know about this so that we can have even more questions and like really get at the heart of what people want to know. So yeah, let's get into it.
I'm with you. Dakota, you are sounding slightly muffled. I'm not sure if there's anything different with the mic today.
I will either I will check if it's low, or I will bring it closer.
You sound great now. I'd say make sure it's pretty close because it was getting a little distant. But we're solid. Are we ready to go ahead and jump into some of these questions? We've already got several comments.
I'm ready.
All right, Miss Maritzabel. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Hi, how long after applying do you get the first visit? Well, are you referring to applying to IHSS, a regional center, SSI? I'm going to assume we're talking about IHSS because she said first visit. So Dakota, right now, I think, a few years ago, our answer might be different. But what would you say right now is kind of a trend across the state for most counties when it comes to applying for IHSS?
Well, I would say across most counties, it's not that much longer than it used to be. I mean, in some places, if you were to take an average, I think the average has definitely gone up, but I think that's more due to some outliers. To answer the question, under normal circumstances, you send in the application. Within a week or two, they should be sending you the healthcare certification form to get filled out. You would send that to your doctor, get it back. You're supposed to get it back within 45 days, but sooner you get it, the better. As soon as you send it that healthcare certification form, under normal circumstances, and I would say still in more than half the counties, you send in the healthcare certification form within a month, maybe a little bit longer than that. They should reach out to you to schedule the assessment, and then whatever it's scheduled for, you're good to go. However, there are a surprising number of counties right now. I mean, I feel like we've had at least 3 or 4 or 5 that have...
Shout them out.
Well, I mean, Los Angeles has always been this way. I think, was it San Diego that delayed by a whole lot, or Orange? I don't remember. I actually don't remember which ones it was. It wasn't my cases that happened to.
The ones that come to me are San Francisco, LA, San Francisco, LA, and I want to say San Bernardino. Those are like the 3 that are kind of weird when it comes to the timeline and application and SOC 873. But we have to connect with the advocate team to see what their thoughts are on that, I think, too. But
yeah, it all kind of blends together. But basically, in a couple of these counties, we've had times where you send in the form, or the application and the doctor's form, and then eventually they reach out to you. They say, "Oh yeah, sorry, we got that, but we can't come out for another 2, 3, 4 months." And that never used to be the case. I mean, even like LA's always been the slowest for everything. Even they, 5 years ago, even they didn't take 6 months to process your application. That was never an issue back then.
LA, honestly, they were actually relatively quick if you submitted the application along with the 873, that healthcare certification form. So at times when I would do that for a family that I'm working with, I would get a call within a few weeks several years ago. And so now you apply and then you wait 2 months and you finally get the 873 in the mail. It's kind of a headache. So Maritzabel, to answer your question, when you apply, it will sort of depend on the county, but for the vast majority, like Dakota said, it's going to be a couple of months probably before you actually have your first visit. So I'd say plan for, application, getting the necessary documents submitted to IHSS, having your home assessment, and then getting a notice of action, the answer. I'd say plan for probably a 4-month process.
Yeah. And the one thing is that you can actually do to try and speed it along is the sooner you can get the healthcare certification form turned in, the better chance you have that they'll do the assessment, because basically no county is ever going to do it before they get that form. So
Yeah, most
at least
counties for
getting that
sure.
form in will at least put you sort of in the queue to have your assessment. So I'd say that's the one thing you can do to maybe speed along the process, is try to get that form in as fast as possible.
Agreed. Stephanie, can a parent provider work part-time while the child is not in the provider's care? I have heard conflicting information. We are here to unconflict.
And this is actually a pretty easy one. I'll take this one. There used to be, and this was a big deal. This is probably where you got some of the conflicting information. There used to be a regulation that talked all about parent providers, when they can or cannot be providers, whether they can work, this or that, all that. And there were a lot of regulations, and social workers would always come to your house and have to ask you, okay, you're a parent provider. Do you work? How many hours? Where do you work? What? Okay. And then but what about the other parent? Do they work? How? And there's all this stuff. The good news is that I believe it was 2024, the beginning of 2024.
February.
It's February. That's right. February of 2024, they changed the regulations, completely eliminated any special requirements for parent providers. So now, just like any other provider, you can be a provider, you can work part-time, you can work full-time, you can work not at all. Whatever you want to do, you can have any job or not have a job while still being a parent provider. The only exception would be don't work. You can't work while you are being a provider, right? If you're working two full-time jobs, you're working 16 hours a day, but you're also claiming 12 hours a day of IHSS, that doesn't fly. But
so that,
yeah,
I would say that is not as obvious to most people, and I completely understand. This is kind of confusing. This whole program can be very confusing. And so I'd say, in addition to that, working from home, working remotely, sometimes that can be kind of an issue. So if you are self-employed, don't even worry about it. If you're a 1099 person because you own a business, you work from home, it doesn't matter. Claim your hours whenever it works for you. However, if IHSS does ask of a schedule for your work, best practice, give them timelines of when you're clocking hours with your job, whatever. If you're a W-2 employee or you clock hours, you just can't claim the IHSS hours, like Dakota said, during the hours you're working your job, right? So, but yes, short, long answer, you can work a job part-time, full-time, it does not matter. You absolutely can still be the provider.
all right.
Miss Jenny, I see something about federal government is changing rules as far as home caregivers getting overtime. What do you guys know? I think this might be kind of referring to some of the conversations we had a couple of months ago. Dakota, what do you think?
Potentially. If this is related to, this is federal government. I'll just say what I know, because I don't know about necessarily what this is talking about. Maybe it's something we'll have to research, but there were issues a few months back, July, about the state government trying to limit overtime for IHSS providers. That was something that it was a big concern for us for quite a while there, but it did get overturned. It was stopped before it was implemented. As far as anything in the federal government, I have not heard anything about that, but these are the kind of things that we do like to research once we get indication of it. So we'll check out if there's any news on that and let you know. But I have not heard anything yet.
Yeah, and you can.
As far as IHSS goes, it's a step. It's state run, so even if the federal government makes a change, nothing's going to happen to IHSS benefits until the state either chooses to follow in their example or doesn't. Oh. Yeah, Teresa just wanted us to say, if you have found articles about any changes or something, just direct message us on Facebook, and then we can check it out and see if that's something that's going to affect our population or not.
Beautiful. Stephanie, yes, you can work full-time if you want. Perfect. We agree with that. Marisabel, should I expect for the first home visit? What should I, oh my gosh, excuse me. What should I expect for the first visit and any feedback I should take into consideration? Well, I have some thoughts. Do you want me to go first?
You go ahead, yeah.
All right. So I would say honesty is key, right? We don't want to lie. We don't want to exaggerate. We want to be honest. If the social worker asks you a question and if it seems fair to you and you're comfortable answering it, by all means, go for it. We can give you some quick tips. If you want something more personal, you might want to connect with our office. We might be able to give you a little bit more like specific details to your case, your situation, because every child, every loved one who's applying for this is different. But some basic kind of go-tos is don't overcomplicate or over express your answer or your response to the social worker. What I mean by that is keep it as factual as you can. So stay away from stories and example after example when it comes to especially something like protective supervision. That's going to be a little bit more complicated, complex. But when it comes to standard ADLs, like personal care and hygiene, your answer is either yes, they need help with it, or no, they don't need help with it, right? So if a social worker is asking you questions like, hey, can you describe to me, or does your child or loved one need help in the restroom? Your answer is either yes or no. It's not, well, they're doing so great. It's something we don't really talk about. He's in the next room, and he's doing such a good job. Yes, we do have the occasional accident. See that right there. When you speak to a social worker that way, they're going to assume that there's not much of a challenge. There's not much of an issue, and so best practice is to just be factual, provide yes or no answers. If you need to elaborate, try to keep it as brief and as broad as you can. And if the social worker keeps asking further clarification questions, then that's when you can entertain maybe more deeper examples if you need to. Don't share anything that is, or not that don't share. I would say try and stick with sharing information that is already documented, especially when it comes to protective supervision, right? So if it's not highlighted in an IEP, if it's not highlighted in regional center documents, the social worker may question some of the things you share. And so I'd say that's what I mean by be factual, right? So whatever you say at the assessment, try and have information to sort of back up what you're saying on paper. Aside from that, I would say don't be scared of the social worker. I know a lot of people get really nervous of the home visit. And I can understand that because a lot of people will read the horror stories on Facebook, and we've shared really, really terrible experiences we've had with social workers as advocates. I'm sure Dakota can back me up on that. But ultimately, the social workers do typically have, their heart is in the right place when they go into social work, right? Now, IHSS social workers are very different from CPS workers and foster care workers. This is a financial benefit, so there is a slight different agenda here. But ultimately, have the expectation that this social worker is here to help until until that expectation is not met. Then things can change, right? And so the social workers will appreciate honesty. You're welcome to even share with the social worker that, you may not know how to answer a question and you might need help with elaborating or things like that. And also too, I'd say last point for me, I think, so we can move on, or Dakota can jump in and add some things, is I would say knowing that this is your assessment, this is your loved one's assessment, right? And so the social worker does have a right to ask certain questions, but you also have a right to express some boundaries. So if you're not comfortable, providing certain information like a W-2 pay stub or answering a certain question about whatever, you don't have to. And so you can sort of protect yourself, know your rights. This is your assessment, and you can control it to some extent. So don't think that the social worker, just because they're a government employee, can come in there and just kind of, rip your home apart or rip your conversation apart and dominate things and belittle you if you say, hey, little Johnny needs help with X, Y, and Z. And they say, well, all children need help with those things. You don't have to allow them to kind of like bulldog the conversation. You do have a right to sort of stand your ground and advocate for this person. And especially if it's a minor, if you're advocating for your child, when the social worker enters the home, you're not advocating for your child anymore. You're advocating for an individual with special needs. It's in that moment, it's not mom advocating for child, it's caregiver advocating for patient, if that makes sense. And so when you can kind of shift in that mindset a little bit, I feel like it helps with the actual communication with the social worker. But I don't know. That's my long-winded answer, Dakota. Do you have any thoughts or things you want to add in there?
I think I'll just put one thing, and this sort of goes along the lines of this being your assessment and you have a measure of control, is you can, and what I would always advise is have someone with you, right? Because like we always, when we have clients who have assessment, we always are present at their assessments, whether in person or over the phone or over a video call. Just having a third person there to listen in, take notes is best if they can. They don't have to say anything. They can be silent the whole time, but just having a third person so that in the future, I mean, for one thing, for your own like support and comfort is good, but also so that in the future, if there are any disagreements about what was or was not said, having someone in your corner who can back you up that no, we did actually tell them about this, is really good to have. So it can be a friend, it can be a family member, or a professional like an advocate like us. Whatever you do, I always say, it's best to have some, like, anyone is better than no one, because if you have to go to a hearing, if you have a disagreement with the county and it becomes a matter of the county says, well, they never told us about him mouthing edible objects. And you're like, yes, I did. I mentioned the rocks and the dirt and the bottle caps. And they say, well, in our notes, there's no mention of any of that stuff. So you must not have said it. If it comes down to that, it's going to be a your word versus theirs. And that never works out in your favor. So if you can have another person, like I said, just a friend or a family member who's just listening in, even if it's just over the phone, then they can speak up, or they can write a letter and say, yeah, we told them about all that stuff. Why they wrote it down, it's anyone's guess, but they heard it. They even acknowledged it. They said, oh, that's very interesting. They wrote on their notes, but where to go? Who knows? So that's the one thing I'd say, is that if you can, try to have somebody else there with you. The county cannot refuse anyone you want to have present at the assessment, unless they are like disruptive. If they start yelling at the person or arguing or fighting, whatever. But they don't, like I said, they don't have to say anything. They can just sit there and listen and take notes. And the county cannot refuse to have them there.
I think that's probably the most important tip out of everything that was said. So absolutely take Dakota's advice on that, Marisabel, if you can, if it's possible, because it will be extremely helpful. One thing I will add to that, though, if it's a family member, a friend, somebody who's not a professional in the world of social services, like myself and Dakota, make sure they're prepped a little bit, right? If you're doing a lot of research on how to prepare for your assessment, and then you bring, Auntie Sally over and she's there to help you out, a lot of times family members and people want to help, and they'll say things to the social worker that are not helpful at all. Mm-hmm. So just be mindful that whatever you prep yourself, if you're bringing somebody along with you as a witness, make sure they're aware of what to say, what not to say, the same way you are. All right, Debbie. You're responding to Jenny. It's state funded. So it's, to our understanding, it's actually federally, state, and county funded to some extent. But ultimately, this is a state program. Stephanie, I work full-time, but my husband is our full-time provider. When he is in school, my husband is having a hard time staying busy. He wanted to get a part-time job, but didn't want to disqualify us from IHSS. Mm-hmm. So it won't matter. Again, both of you can work full-time and claim the IHSS hours. That doesn't have to change. You can also get things like respite services, personal assistant services from regional center to kind of fill in the gaps of the day if you both are working. When your son comes home from school, if you need a couple of extra hours of extra care, you can get that fulfilled through regional center respite or regional center personal assistant. But yeah, he can work full time as long as you guys can make it work. It's not a problem. Mm-hmm. Stephanie said Monterey County is about 4 months out right now. I'm guessing that's what we're talking when it came to the assessment.
Yeah. I'll just say, if that's 4 months from like application to notice of action, that's not bad. But if that's 4 months from like sending in the healthcare certification form to them scheduling an assessment, that's kind of bad. Like that's not great. So that, it's relative, but if that were the entire process, that's how it's basically always been. But if that's just to get the assessment, it's not great.
Debbie has a good point here as well. Debbie mentioned the only way it would disqualify him is if you guys go over the income to qualify for Medi-Cal. So fair point. If you both work full-time, or if one of you works full-time and your income is above that Medi-Cal threshold for your county, that will impact the IHSS because IHSS is a benefit of Medi-Cal. So if this recipient is a minor and they're a client of the regional center, it doesn't matter because you can get a waiver for Medi-Cal. You can make as much as you need to income-wise. And if they're an adult, they can qualify for Medi-Cal individually, not as the household. So there's definitely ways around it, but it's a very good point, Debbie. Thank you for bringing that up. Here we go. Happy birthday, Miss Myra.
We need to catch up. There's probably even more of these. We need to catch up on some of these questions.
Yep. Stephanie, thank you. Does IHSS provider get insurance? So I do have a thought
I don't
there.
know. I'll let you take this.
Okay. So what I've gathered is I do believe there's medical, there's insurance coverage as a provider, but I don't know all the details of it, but I do believe you can technically get like workers insurance as a provider. But I think there's caveats to it. I don't know those caveats. This is something that actually I think would be a really good topic for me and Dakota to do some more research on, because it's a question that we do get from time to time. It is a rare one, but I know that a lot of people have this on the back of their mind. And so we're going to do some digging for you, Alisa, and try and find out a little bit more about it. I do think it's available, but I don't have all the answers for you. Back to Marizabel. IRC, do you apply for Medi-Cal through them or directly through Medi-Cal, or should you wait to apply for Medi-Cal until RC has been approved? Dakota, do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Sure. So it's going to depend on the regional center. It's going to depend on your caseworker. So the way that we typically will recommend it is that if you haven't applied for regional center yet, then you have to start with that. Start with applying for regional center because that's going to take a long time. So regional center right now, I mean, you're looking at probably 6 months before you actually get in regional center. You know what I'm saying? So if you already have regional center and you're trying to get the Medi-Cal waiver, you'll only need that if you're below the income threshold for Medi-Cal, right? For your child, that is. So if you're trying to get the waiver for the purpose of something like, protective supervision, so you can get Medi-Cal for IHSS. I mean, typically you have to apply to Medi-Cal directly. You have to reach out to Medi-Cal, get the application. It's a big packet that comes in the mail. You fill out the packet and apply as a household. You have to apply for the whole household. And then when you submit that a month or so later, you'll get a denial letter if your income is too high. And then you take that denial and that's what you give to your regional center worker. Now you can give the worker a heads up beforehand and say, hey, I'm planning on getting denied Medi-Cal because our income's too high. Can you get the waiver process started? And then some caseworkers will help you with the application. Some of them will just say, cool, yeah, send me the denial when it comes through. I'll push the waiver through. So some workers are a little bit more helpful and informative than others, but I have had caseworkers at regional center, like where I'll encourage a family to go get the waiver. And they're like, I called my caseworker today and they didn't even know what the waiver was. They didn't even realize you can get Medi-Cal through a waiver. And so it's like, it's going to depend, but I would say once you get that denial, you typically can share it with your caseworker and then they'll go ahead and put the waiver through. Now, in order to get the waiver, you do have to have a purchase order with regional center. So there has to be some type of service in place that you're using from regional center, like respite, an ID bracelet, personal assistance, them spending money on a day program for this loved one. So there does have to be a service regional centers providing before they can actually push the waiver through. Dakota, any thoughts to add on to that?
No, I was just going to say the basically same thing you did of that. Depending on the worker or depending on the regional center, if you let them know that you're trying to get Medi-Cal, and even if you know you need the waiver, like you said, you have to get the denial from Medi-Cal first for them to then do the waiver. But if you let them know that you're intending to get Medi-Cal, some regional centers will probably assist you in the application process. Like, we'll just, talk you through it. So it's not, if you already have regional center, it's probably not a bad idea to reach out to your caseworker and just say, hey, we want to get Medi-Cal. We're going to need the waiver. Can you help me, help walk me through this? I would imagine, I don't know if all of them will, but I would imagine several of them could at least give you some basic step-by-step advice.
Yeah, I agree with that. See, yes, you can call our office and get on my calendar directly. Dakota, how's your books looking? Are you open for consults?
I only do meetings with my clients that I'm working with directly.
Yes, Marisabel, yes. If you call the office, you want to chat with one of us, you would end up on my calendar. My calendar is sort of under construction at the moment. So I'm like 6 weeks out right now, but we're making some adjustments. But if you wanted to get on my calendar now, you absolutely find a spot, and we might be able to sneak you in a little bit sooner. But yes, reach out to our office, talk to Michelle at the front desk, or Tina. Is it Tina?
Yes,
Dakota.
Yes, Tina is who's here today, and she's a brand new employee that we have who's doing front desk things. So you'll get Michelle or Tina. And that's who you'll want to talk to get on Caleb's calendar. Welcome,
Tina, to the team, by the way. I think this is her first week, right? Her first official day at the desk.
I mean, it's the first day I've seen her working by herself today. So yeah,
cool. I'm gonna tell everybody, call the office and say,
no, do not.
First day. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I'm just kidding.
We're not.
You can message.
We're not trying to scare away our new employees.
She's ready. She's good for it. All right. So yes, Marisabel, call our office. You can speak with either Tina today or Michelle next week, and they'll find a spot on my calendar for you. All right. It's new recently, federal government, not state. It's new recently.
Just from what we said before, just if you find articles specific about this, please let us know. We've not heard any news, but we'd love to research whatever you got going on.
Scott lives in San Bernardino County. He's confused about the 2025 pay raises. Your website states San Bernardino County was expecting to receive $1.60 increase for this year. Do you have dates of increases? We only received a 50-cent increase this year so far. Has the increase been halted due to new budget? What's going on?
Teresa just said she posted a answer. I think this is the one. Let me put it up there. Scott, there are beginning of the year raises, and some counties do mid-year raises. I don't have the pay raise info right in front of me, but if you want to PM, I'll contact you, connect you to the website where you can find that info. Okay, so yeah, I figured it was probably something like that. So I think what we have on our website is the raises that each county did at the start of the year or the start of the budget year. I'm not sure which one. And then, yeah, so there's the start of the year where every county gets a raise, whether it's 25 cents or 50 cents or something more. And then some counties sporadically at random times will do other raises in the middle of the year.
Yes. And take a moment, everybody, if you can, like, share, and tag a friend, tag a support group. To try and bring in some more people to either today's live stream or in future ones. We would really appreciate that. And thank you. Oh my gosh, I lost my place. Hold on. Hold, please. And Sarah, hello to you. All right, Constance. The doctor is requesting that my son gets exercise walking, playing ball. They're worried about his weight. Who do I go to for someone to assist him? Is it IHSS? And he's a client of the regional center. You're talking. Go ahead.
So I'll just address part of that and to say that if it's exercise therapy that's needed or weight control. It's probably not IHSS. That would be the place for that. I mean, they do have categories for range of motion exercises, but that's more so for circulation and preventing it's very much minimal as far as health. It's just what is needed to continue the body functioning. So it's very minimal in that sense, or paramedical services in the same vein. I would imagine regional center might be the place, but maybe Caleb, you might have more ideas on that.
Yeah. So one thing, excuse me. There's a big need, by the way, for developmentally disabled needing physical education outside of school. And so there's some really cool stuff in the Sacramento area. I live not too far from the Sacramento area. There's a couple of gyms, which is really cool. I cannot remember the name of them off the top of my head, but it's like a chain that's growing here in America, where it caters to people who are clients of the regional center and with whatever is like the local program in their state, where it'll cater to those individuals who are developmentally disabled, where it's like a gym, it's an actual gym with training and stuff like that. And so it's really cool. If anyone's had experience with that, I know there's some other chains too, but there's a big need for it. So to answer your question, Constance, as far as like who's going to do this task with him, so regional center can provide a personal assistant. And so a personal assistant is somebody who can take this individual out into the community, help them work on goals that they have. It can be in the home or out of the home. It can be pretty much whatever you want them to focus on or whatever they might want to focus on themselves. And so, for example, my sisters who have Down syndrome, they've had a couple of different personal assistants over the years. And one of them was just another sibling of ours who would take them out into the community on walks. They would take them to the library for some book time reading. They would take them to the movies or to the mall to get socialized. They would take them to the office, Galt Advocacy's office, where they would hang out and work on the computers and just have fun. And so if you want a personal assistant, it can be a family friend, it can be a family member, it can be even somebody who works for that company that's vended through the regional center who's looking for work that you can hire, where they will do the exercising with this individual. You can also, of course, try and find like a local personal training center in your area and do one-on-one coaching with somebody at a gym. And sometimes, depending on the scenario, if you're on self-determination, regional center can sometimes pay for like exercise therapy, like Dakota mentioned. So it's kind of not a fine line, but you can get creative with it. And so, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I know it's not necessarily a direct answer, but when you said, who do I go to for someone to assist him? I would say personal assistant is what comes to my mind. So if it's just going on a walk or playing with a ball outside or at the park, that can be accomplished through a personal assistant where they can be paid to do that for him. All right. Teresa's in the comments again. Are you allowed to double check by asking the social worker, did you write down about eating dirt? Dakota, can you ask a social worker that?
So I think this is going back to our discussion about sometimes you said something, you told the social worker something at the assessment, and then it doesn't make it into the notes, and then later on you have this big argument about it. So the question is, can you ask and say, well, did you include this? Did you include that? I mean, certainly you can ask questions like that. Now, for me personally, I wouldn't repeat everything in the whole assessment, but as a third party who will listen in sometimes, I usually have an idea about the things that we wanted to mention, and if I felt like there was a big thing that there wasn't much discussion on, I will sometimes bring it up and say, hey, we did talk about the kitchen issues or the running away issues, right? If that seemed like something that would take 5 minutes to discuss, and instead we mentioned it in passing, they went, oh, okay, and then just moved on and didn't ask any follow-up questions, I'll sometimes say something along those lines of saying, hey, we talked about this, right? Like you heard about how they'll run away. They'll heard about how they'll put inedible things in their mouth. You got that, right? I will sometimes do that just because when it seems like they did not pay much attention to it, I will sometimes say that. So yeah.
Love it. I think it's a great point. Rosita, what's the difference between respite and personal assistant? So respite is paid caregiving, or paid like nannying, babysitting, supervision at home. A personal assistant is similar, but it's a little bit more versatile, I guess you could say. So again, a respite would be for somebody who maybe wants to come to the home for a couple of hours a day or a few times a week, where they can come and they can watch your child or your loved one, adult or minor, doesn't matter, so that you can have a break. a respite allows you to rest a bit, right? That's what people like to say. So that allows you to go to the gym, go on a date, go to grocery shopping, right? You're not technically supposed to use respite while you work. I don't think they really keep track of that necessarily, but it is to allow you time away from your client, your regional center client that you're caring for, whether that be your child or adult loved one. So a personal assistant, that is somebody who you can be a little bit more flexible with, where it's not just caregiving for the child, or this loved one, it's about making their life more fruitful in some way. So again, like I mentioned, taking them out into the community if they have to work on special socializing skills or exercising, or maybe they're trying to learn how to manage money. And so a part of that is taking them to the bank to count money or look at their bank account, use an ATM machine and teaching them those life skills. It can also be at home too. A personal assistant can help that person with chores around the house or tasks that they need to accomplish at home. And so, yeah, a personal assistant can be used for pretty much anything, but you can go on Disability Rights of California, or most regional centers' websites will have a breakdown of description of what a personal assistant is and what they can do. But that would be the big difference. Respite allows you to rest so that you can have kind of like a step-in caregiver, whereas a personal assistant is somebody who's there to help this person with something that they need help with in their life, not just like the supervising or the babysitting in that sense. Teresa posted information about the insurance through being an IHSS provider. So feel free to click on that information and read through that if you can. Francesca, can you get paramedical services for oral medication? So
I'll take this one.
Yeah, please.
And you can correct me if you have different information, but I believe there are two circumstances I can think of for when you can get paramedical services for oral medication. One is if you have to physically put the pills in the patient's mouth. If you have to insert the pills, then yes, that's one. And the other, I believe, is if you have to break up the pills and mix them into food. That also counts as paramedical services. I believe those two situations do count. But if you are handing the medication to the recipient and they are taking it themselves, then it does not. Does that sound correct to you, Caleb?
I would agree. To my understanding, it's medication administration. That's what they pay for. So if you're administering the medication, even if that means, like Dakota said, cutting it up and getting it prepared for them, that's a little bit more excessive than just getting the bottles lined up and having their pills ready to take, right? So for adults, you can get time for that to some extent, but to my understanding, that's exactly, yes. But for minors, it's a no. For minors, you're only going to get time in oral medication if you are physically administering it or doing something kind of above and beyond what's considered typical. It's not a huge category for IHSS. Even maxed out, it's not going to be like a ton of time. So I have had people who are kind of hyper fixated on it. I say move on, especially if it's a minor. If they only have a few medications, it's not a big task. And it might be for you, right? It might be for you, but as a program itself, it's a little firm on it. They don't like to give that task to minors. They really don't. And so the only time they will, especially for minors, is when you are physically administering the medication. Rosita, yes, we do. I'm in Riverside County. Okay, you're responding to Miss Eliza. Jessica, we would like to take a moment to be celebrating the official Galt Advocacy family. We have made our last payment for your amazing support. We appreciate you all. Nice. We're glad you're here, Jessica. You're here almost every week. You are a pleasure. Glad you're here. Miss Debbie, how do you get an ID bracelet from Regional Center? Never knew this was a thing. Well, yep.
Sorry, what?
That's pretty much it.
Oh.
You just asked for it.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I believe the way Regional Center works is that they do want to see, they'll want to hear a reason why this is going to be necessary and beneficial. But I mean, if there's the ID bracelet, is that like a GPS thing, or is that like in case they get lost, they'll be found? That has their information on it. It's strictly an identification bracelet. There are GPS bracelets, but that is not technically like a Regional Center product. So there's certain companies like Angel Sense, which is a GPS tracking bracelet or necklace device.
but that is something that you have to pay for privately, or if you're on self-determination, regional center might be able to fund it that way. But no, for the ID bracelet, it's just an identification tab.
Okay, well then, yeah. I mean, I guess it's just let them know. Yeah.
Yeah, just contact your regional center worker, let them know that you're interested in that, and they should be able to tell you whether or not that's something that they can approve. Miss Jessica's welcoming Miss Tina. We gotta let Miss Tina know that she's been welcomed officially. Debbie, back to you. How do you get an ID bracelet?
I think that was a repeat of the previous one.
That was, you're right. You're right. My bad. Anna, let's see here. Okay, I was here last week about my son who is very young. He was undiagnosed, and I was questioning for PS because he's been severe headbanging to the point of going to the ER and some other severe behaviors. He did get diagnosed with autism level 3. Do you think I should apply now? I just know how hard the fight is for kids young. He's been having these behaviors since 10 months. They have worsened. He wears prescribed safety helmet at all times, but will only be 2 in November. What do you think? So I think there's more to this question, Dakota, but obviously we can't read it because it was too big here.
I asked Teresa to pull up the rest of the question. If
okay. He's also diagnosed with pica.
Yeah, she's gonna post the second half of the comment again, just so we have the whole thing.
So to go back to it. Context. Yeah, so she said that he will be 2 in November, but he has been officially diagnosed with level 3 autism. And then I did get diagnosed with autism level 3. What do you think I should do now? Apply hard fight, kids young, has been behaviors. Okay, so it's kind of a repeat. Okay, so also diagnosed with pica. So 2 is young, like you said, he's not even 2 yet. Dakota, do you have thoughts? Should she apply now? What would you recommend as somebody who's a professional in this field?
It's tough because I I actually had a similar question last week about this of like, how young is too young if they have very severe.
That might have been from her. So in her comment, she mentioned that she was here last week about my son who is young and undiagnosed.
Oh, right. And he was maybe going to get diagnosed with autism, and so now he has been diagnosed. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's still a difficult question, I would say. Diagnosed pica, that helps as well a lot. So I would say, especially with them needing the safety helmet and having the pica diagnosis as well, I think it's, there's potential, right? There's potential. But being even below 2, it still is. I think it's still a big long shot. Even though diagnosis wise, it is like the spot on for what protective supervision's for. It is extremely young. I would say it could be worth a shot, but I wouldn't suggest doing it alone because you'll need to have a very solid grasp of the regulations and of what kinds of behaviors are what protective supervision is for, right? And you'll probably need very conclusive evidence of what level of supervision, what level of danger your average almost 2-year-old puts himself in, which is really hard. It's really hard to show that they have any level of safety awareness or self-preservation at that age. But that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, I think to me, we talked about this actually a couple of weeks ago, I think. The toughest cases with protective supervision, or to get protective supervision, right? So the youngsters is going to be at the top for the most part. Mm-hmm. And a big reason is not because they don't qualify. It's not because you have to have a helmet at all times. You described, it's not like you have to have pica to technically meet the criteria for protective supervision. For children, especially children under the age of 4, a big reason why it is so difficult is because the lack of data. So you can argue all you want with a social worker about what's typical and not typical. I think it's very clear. We can say pica is not typical, having to wear a helmet because of a headbanging maladaptive behavior is not typical, right? These are things that you don't have to argue, right? But a lot of times, children this young don't have a history of ABA, therapy, assessment reports, IEPs with the school, kind of highlighting more detail about what their condition consists of and what their maladaptive behaviors are. Therefore, the social worker has to rely on what you say at the home assessment. You may be able to get a letter from the doctor or get a statement from the doctor talking about the cognitive delay, but to a social worker, it can be really challenging to get enough data at this age. So I think it does come down to kind of what you feel confident in, Anna. If you feel like there is an overwhelmingly amount of data, like cold, hard facts and evidence that correlate and sort of connect with what the regulations say for protective supervision, then like Dakota said, it could be worth pursuing now. It could be worth pursuing now, but it also doesn't hurt to give it a couple of years and use this time to sort of prepare and build and focus on therapy and focus on some other things and maybe have data later on. But there's no right or wrong answer there. So there's no age restriction for protective supervision or IHSS. You can apply at any age if this person has Medi-Cal. So if you felt today you wanted to apply, we are not going to sit here and say you're wrong. It's okay. You absolutely can apply. The worst case scenario is you get denied, and then you could try again. Right. So, but if you want some more of a solid response, I can give you a professional opinion after doing a bit of an assessment for you. So if you want to reach out to our office, Anna, I am happy to chat with you and learn a little bit more about your child and tell you what I think more directly. Because this is kind of a broad space, right? So I can only provide a broad answer like Dakota. But I would love to chat with you and connect with you directly, and I can give you more personalized tips on what you can do. All right, Ms. Maribel, again, welcome back in the comments. How can you have a school provide or approve an ABA therapist one-on-one? So that is going to be a question that both Dakota and I will have to defer to our education advocates, I think, for the most part. I will say, in order for them to approve a one-to-one, you have to qualify for one-to-one, right? Qualifying means you have to meet criteria in the education law, like what's a need that is consistent with requiring a one-on-one aid. A one-on-one aid is going to be single-handedly like one of the most expensive things that a school will have to pay for. So they will almost always deny that to somebody when you first ask for it. A lot of people have to fight to get a one-to-one, even if they qualify for it, no problem. So as far as the ABA therapist side of it, so that's the thing I don't quite know yet, because I think it depends. Because you can have like an ABA style aid at school, but I don't know like the laws around that or the rules around that. So I would highly recommend you reach out to our office and ask to speak with an education advocate, unless Dakota has any thoughts you'd like to share.
No, just say that it's very difficult to get a one-on-one aid in any context. And I think from what I remember, oftentimes you'll have to follow up year after year and sort of work your way up to proving the need for a one-on-one aid. And I think Teresa has something to add. Teresa wanted us to add that Vinaya is going to be on next week's live, and she can probably answer this question next week.
All right.
Okay. We're about out of time, but I think we can answer this one.
We got one more.
Real quick. Yeah. Can you receive respite and personal assistance and IHSS as well? I think I know the answer, but Caleb, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What I do know is that IHSS specifically does not, they do not consider Regional Center an alternative resource. So nothing that Regional Center provides you will ever take away from your IHSS. And I believe from Regional Center's perspective, as long as whatever you need the personal, like the respite, tons of people get respite with their IHSS. As far as personal assistance, I think as long as the reason the personal assistant is needed is, as long as that's not covered by IHSS, then you should be fine to have that as well. Does that sound right?
It does. It all comes down to the schedule. If you qualify for all of these services, then you have to make sure that you have room in the 24-hour day to utilize each service. So that's the only way that they'll affect each other. It's not about eligibility affecting one another. It's room on the calendar, right? So if you have 8 hours a day of IHSS and you have 10 hour or 5 hours a day of respite approved, and then another 6 hours a day of personal assistant approved, that might eat up all 24 hours, and which wouldn't make any sense, right? So you might get more approved than you are actually eligible to utilize, because it's just about your schedule and what it can take. So Anna, that was me. Oh yes, thank you very much. Rosita, thank you. Everybody, we're about out of time.
We made it.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. You guys are more than welcome to continue asking us questions privately if you want to reach out to our office, or you can connect with Teresa here on Facebook. You can send us a message directly or send us an email. Our email's on our website. But Dakota, thank you so much for joining and helping me out with these questions like you always do. Great questions as always. I think we actually have some good stuff here for us to kind of do some digging on for future topics. But yeah, that's it, everybody. Thank you for wishing Myra a happy birthday, by the way. If you want to drop a last comment wishing her a happy birthday, we'd be happy to show her. But I think that's it, everybody. We got to send off and get ready for Nicole. So if you speak Spanish, or you know somebody that speaks Spanish that wants to get this information, you can connect with Nicole at 1 o'clock here, which is right now. She should be going live shortly after we stop, where she'll be doing Q&A. I assume she's Q&A today as well.
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, and she has a special guest.
New Myra's going to be here.
New Myra is going to be here, and you'll have to see who that is for yourself. So.
That's right. So join Nicole at 1 o'clock if you speak Spanish, or if you don't speak Spanish, you could just enjoy watching. Another happy birthday from Constance. Thank you, Constance, to Miss Myra, and from Ernie. Happy birthday. Love it. All right, everybody. I hope you all got something from today. Dakota, thank you for providing some solid answers and joining me like you do every month. But I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday. Hope you all enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next week for education with Vinaya. Right?
Apparently so. So, yep. See y'all next time.
Sweet. All right, guys. Bye, everybody.